Very occasional.
Yeah. Doesn't have anything to do with. It's not like the Pelicans are on this slate, but not that it matters. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, Sunday, January 12th. Yes, Sunday. Feels a little bit weird, but I'm happy to be here, filling in for your old pal EMAC. It's going to be myself and the man below me, Fast Eddie Fear. Eddie, what's going on? How's your weekend?
Pretty good. Yesterday was kind of a crap show of NBA DFS, as you and I know you spent much of yesterday drinking beer and watching football, as in soccer.
Good.
Yesterday was most of the guys I liked did well, with the exception of Drummond, who everybody liked, who's 50-something% owned, and he was really bad for the first half, it should be pointed out, and then got booted, and then the Pelicans got just curb stomped. Lonzo had a game, which was nice to see, but yesterday was just weird. It was one of those, if all your guys made it, without a blowout or an ejection, you probably did extremely well.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So let's start this off. First and foremost, hit that like button as you're coming in. Helps us out tremendously. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We'll have strategy show tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. Myself, Dave Loughran, the man that's been tweeting out pictures of significantly too much ketchup on scrambled eggs. It looked terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Unacceptable. The amount, I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's not just the presence. We're not just talking about a garnish. He had some eggs with this ketchup.
Just put a bowl of ketchup out there and a spoon. The eggs are just like a serving device at that point.
It's like Chicago style pizza. Like I like marinara. I like tomato sauce, but maybe, have some pizza with it.
Yeah. So Laffy, I know you're not listening, but shots fired.
If he's listening to this show, I'd be absolutely shocked.
I'd be willing to bet my life that he's not. I already have one bet on the table with Laffy. I don't need a second.
I heard something about a mustache. Can you remind me what this is?
So if I need the Sixers to have a greater than 500 record in road games for the rest of the season. You
need greater.
Yes.
Because my understanding was Laffy is the Sixers fan. That's why I'm confused.
He is. So this is a safe bet for him. If he loses, at least the Sixers have been presumably playing well. If he wins, I have a mustache for a week. So that's going to happen.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I had an absolutely ridiculous porn stash on the air at shout out Roto Grinders about 5 years ago for some lost wager. I can't recall what it was, but I had just a glorious, I even ran a spike along with my porn stash. It was exciting. Pictures are out there. You could find them.
I have a sneaky suspicion I'll have one in April, which is not super, but you know what is super? Super Draft.
Yeah.
Super Draft is super. It is the future of daily fantasy sports. Say goodbye to salary restrictions. You're dealing with multipliers. The much better setup. You don't have to worry about playing guys like Brandon Goodwin at minimum salary just because he's minimum salary. You can play every single player that you actually want to play. Somebody might have like a 1.2 multiplier to their score, 1.3, 1.4, up and down the line. You've got to try to maximize that. They've got contests for MLB coming up soon, people. Be ready. NFL, which is apparently on right now. Who cares about the NFL? We've got the real goods. Obviously, NBA, NHL, PGA. You can do this all year round. They've got an app in the App Store, so feel free to download that. But for right now, head to superdraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get yourself a free $20 in super cash with your first deposit of $100 or more. Superdraft, no limits, more winning. Once again, please hit the like button as you come in. It's going to be a fun one. We've got 5 games. We can dig in pretty deep. Where is the spot that we need to start first? Who is the most essential piece of this slate as of right now?
Am I correctly interpreting your question?
I don't want to say who's the slam dunk because on a 5-gamer, I feel like it's a little different.
All right, let's do Brooklyn and Atlanta because there's a lot going on here, and I have a very significant amount of love for almost everybody on Atlanta, and certainly can get talked into a lot of guys on Brooklyn. Starting talking about Brooklyn for a second here, I think you can make a little more of a too many cooks argument.
Yes.
Like if you're I have a lot of trouble getting away from several of the guys on Atlanta. I am over the moon in love with John Collins. I'm over the moon in love with Brandon Goodwin. As much as I don't want to be, that's the kind of chalk I generally try to avoid. But once they announced he's starting, I'm in. Like Trae Young has missed 3 games this year. Goodwin was on the team for all 3 games, played all 3 games off the bench, had one very good game, 2 pretty substellar games, one which was all of 2 weeks ago. I was in Mexico when this happened, so I think just before New Year's, uh, Trae Young missed a game and Brandon Goodwin played. I think it was 13 minutes off the bench in that game. So I was ready for Sansa lineup him to be 50% chalk and jump all over his face, but he's starting now. It's really hard to imagine the minutes aren't there, and he's actually pretty good. And the matchup is about as good as it gets. And now he probably plays in the high 20s in minutes, and there is a really big ceiling to be had. And the rest of the value is kind of shit. So I don't know what the number is going to be, but it's going to have to start with a 7 before I start thinking about getting away.
We have a number if you're interested.
I'm ready. I didn't know we hadn't updated last time I looked. I'm guessing it's going to be around halvesies right now, but
48.
Hey, there you go. That's I'd have more, and it's a rare day. I'm like, I'll have more of that chalk value piece, but yeah. Brandon Goodwin is pretty good. I have not looked up his rates, but even if you ignore this year, which had a couple sort of spiky performances, even if you go back to his, there's a little Memphis stint, and then there was some Phoenix time, and then I think he might have done a dance through Orlando for like a week on a 10-day or something. Has always looked really good with the ball and can actually do things with it. He's had some empty stat line recently. That one game off the bench, or maybe a different, but I remember he had a line where he had 14 points and assists and no other statistics in one game. I recall that one. But yeah, I like Brandon Goodwin, and with starting, I can't get. I'm sorry, I can't get away. Like it's just minimum he's starting. I would have him projected for somewhere in the area of 27 minutes and 29 fantasy points in this matchup. I can't get away.
I agree. I have him at 26 fantasy points right now. I was trying to be a little bit pessimistic. It's not really stopping him from showing up in all of my lineups, essentially. So
yeah, we also have no Bruno Fernando, which actually matters as more guys play down. No Jabari Parker, which actually matters as guys play down. Also, there's just extra usage for a guy who can go and get his own shot. The more controversial play I'll have on this is I really like Alex Len. Setting aside the fact that he smashed the living crap out of the Nets twice this year already. No Parker, no Fernando. He's gonna get value or he's gonna foul out.
Yep.
I don't think in this matchup there's much. I mean, this Nets interior defense is still really, really poor. Kyrie being back out with one wing is going to negatively affect the defense as well. The pace should be up. I like Alex Len quite a bit. FanDuel especially at 4,900. DK at 52. I have obviously no issue with. Not much of a big issue there. I think he's 15 on Yahoo, no problem. Somewhere around 10 grand on Fantasy Draft. I love all those numbers, and he's gonna be pretty low owned. I'm curious what we have as a projection for that man, but I'm much more excited about Alex Len than Hunter or Reddish. Hoarder is a conversation who costs some more. I like Kevin Hoarder quite a bit here. One of the ways, and he's the most immediate brilliant pivot off of Goodwin, because the way Hoarder gets there is he's picking up all the dimes and he's taking the shots, and Goodwin isn't. And Hoarder is going to be 15% as opposed to Goodwin's 50. So I can definitely get behind Hoarder, but I would actually have Alex Len as my third guy in this team to target.
Len is fourth for me. I'm going Goodwin, and I'm speaking from a DraftKings perspective for today. Goodwin, Herder, Collins, Len. I am
Herder
going to have
over
Len.
Collins.
Yes, Herder over Collins.
Wow, let's I yield the floor to you to obviously there's a $2,500 to $3,000 price difference or whatever on DK it's a different DK. It's exactly
they're pretty close too. Like I have Herder fourth overall and Collins 10th. So if I move 1 minute on one of these guys,
right,
I can bring them to essentially.
That's how they project for you. What do you have for minutes? Do you have Hoarder 34 and Collins 30? Like I'm curious what you have.
34, 32.
34, 30, I was going to say 34, 33. Those are both reasonable numbers. I have them within a minute there, so I have no disagreement there.
I will also say that I am constantly low on John Collins and rarely mad about it.
Well, all right. And so the other thing, so again, Trae Young has missed 3 games this year. One was earlier this year, and I'm fairly certain Collins was dealing with his inability to read pill bottle issues at that
Sure.
point, if you believe what you read. And but the 2 games that Trae Young missed 10, 12 days ago, approximately, one was against Orlando, and other guys had some decent games, and that was like just before Jonathan Isaac got killed for the year. So this was John Collins dealing with Vooch, um, and John Isaac was in that game. So that was a pretty bad matchup, and he took, I want to say, 9 or 10 shots and was fine, but just did not do a lot. And then the other game Trae Young missed was in a much more advantageous matchup, which is escaping me at the moment. I'll look it up when I get a second. But I remember he took like 24 shots. And like second was Alex Len and third was Horder or something. Like they ran everything through him.
Yeah.
In a better matchup. And this is really now like best possible matchup. So we're very close to it. It's in there with Chicago and a couple other spots. But
I'll say this.
Yeah, I love John Collins.
He's played 140 minutes with Trae Young and Jabari Parker off the floor this year. 1.08 FanDuel points per minute.
That's not.
I have him significantly higher than that, and I'm still not interested. With like a ton of ownership. Actually, that might not even be true. How much do I have right now? I'm neutral to the field, so it's not. I'm just not like crazy about him, but I obviously need to have him today. He's not a he's not a zero.
The other game was against the Bulls, so it's pretty actually similar matchup to this one. He played 33 minutes because they got blown out by 35, which is a possibility we should discuss tonight, by the way. But in those 33 minutes, he took 26 shots. He went 14 for 26 with 34, 8, 2, 1, and 3. But again, the shot totals are the most relevant point here. He took 26 shots. Second was Horder with 12. Len took 4 off the bench and made all of them, actually. DeAndre Hunter took 9 after that, but he took almost half the shots on the team. He had a 40% usage. So I would not be surprised to see something leaning towards that today. So, and again, with the fact that there is a lot of it also has to do with the fact that there's some pretty great value now when you throw Brandon Goodwin in there, and we have Amari Spellman and a couple other guys, and nobody costs anything. With Trae Young out, there's no player on either site who costs $10,000.
Right.
So it's kind of close to a pick 'em, and it's really hard for me not to get to John Collins in a more pick 'em-y environment.
I get it. Yeah, like I said, I've got, I figure I'll be in like the 25 to 30% range, but he's not one of the guys that I'm taking like a stand over the field on.
Yeah. I agree with you in Horder. I like him quite a bit, and I suspect the ownership doesn't get to him to the extent that it gets to some of these other guys that we're talking about.
Yeah, so like on DK right now, I have 37% of Herder, and we have him projected for 18.
Right, there you go. And I'm absolutely fine with that stand. So yeah, I think those are the for me, I'm including Len in that first tier. He played Brooklyn twice this year in less advantageous environments. Obviously, Trae Young in both of those games was in and had somewhere close to 40 and somewhere close to 50 in those 2 games. The matchup is a great spot. And again, just no Fernando, other usage guys out there, and the price being down towards 5K and the ownership being more tolerable. I have him. I guess I have him well behind Collins and Goodwin, but I have him pretty similarly as a level of interest next to Horder.
Okay.
Horder also costs you, like, it depends what site you're talking about. Horder costs you, an interesting shooting guard spot on FanDuel where you're going to frequently lock D'Angelo Russell into one of the first ones. So there's some positional issue there, and center being not overly brilliant this evening.
Got to circle back to Shem Super Chat. Do you guys know why Biyombo saw 30-plus minutes 2 games out of 5 this month, and what are the chances he sees that game again? I have no idea.
I do know they've cycled a little bit, partially due to some wear issues on Cody Zeller and wanting to limit him a little bit, and they've just sort of gone with Biyombo as their starting center at this point, with Zeller playing most games a purely backup there. So
Marvin Williams was out for one of them, I believe.
Yeah, there's right. So you'll have the games that started next to each other. We're going back a few weeks now, and then the varying games without either PJ Washington or Marvin Williams or the various guys who've missed games for that team. It's bounced around a little bit. I think a good projection for Biombo is like 28 minutes. That's a pretty good matchup, and he's cheap. Like I ranked him fairly well, and I don't even mind Cody Zeller in tournaments. On DK, he's 3,900 or some number like that. So again, I obviously have Len around 5K as a value center. I'm prioritizing a little bit higher, but I like Biombo just fine. Again, I'm critical of chalky $5,000 Biombo, but not chalky 4,400. I think are the tags on Biombo. Starting center, right? It makes obviously a pretty sexy pivot off, say, Amari Spellman, who projects to play, who's a slightly better fantasy producer and projects to play more minutes in what's a better matchup with Memphis, I would yield. But still, I think Biombo is going to outscore Amari Spellman 40% of the time or something. And I don't think the ownership will correctly justify that. So I'm a decent fan of getting to some Biombo here.
Biombo's last X amount of games: 16.5, 32, 23, 37, 24, 16, 21, 27. I have no idea how to project wherever the hell he's going to end up today. That much I can tell you.
Yeah.
That is a roller coaster ride.
You just sort of unintentionally did a Louis Tully there. Do you know who Louis Tully is?
I do not.
Louis Tully is the name of the character played by Rick Moranis in the original 1985 or 86 version of Ghostbusters.
I thought we were going to go with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids there.
No, that's a good one too. Really sad story, by the way. Rick Moranis, Spaceballs, the whole 9 yards, big fan of his. And then like his wife died, I think, after a prolonged bout of cancer, and he got like depression, just like disappeared for a decade, just took care of his kids and went away. But anyhow, he has a great rant in the middle of that film where he's talking to a horse drawing a carriage in Central Park, and he turns to it, and the end of it is he says something, and then after the third of the McKettrick supplicants, he appeared again in the form of a great and ravaging slore. Many shubs and groats knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of the slore that day, I can tell you. So you ended your thing with I can tell you, and okay, we can move on now.
I can't believe you had that line just queued up.
You ended your line with "I can tell you," which is not, I think, a frequently used phrase, and I don't know. That's what came up, but I just remembered. I didn't have it queued up, and I'm sure my usage of shubs, groats, and slore and McKettrick supplicants were all slight, if not large, detractions from the original script. But that's about how it goes.
Well done. Well done.
I try.
How many minutes do you think Kyrie Irving plays today?
I'm going 31, and I'm a pretty big fan.
Okay. I have him in for 26 right now. I have no idea. Once again, like, this is playing a guessing game after a guy's been out for 2.5 months or whatever.
Yep.
Like, we don't know. We just
like
don't know.
It's a shoulder. It's not lower body. In theory, it's not cardio. And the coach came out, and I read this differently from everyone. Everyone read this and went down. I kind of went up a little bit. I had him at 28. And they said, so they asked Kyrie, and he said, the only management I'm doing is doing my in-between game shoulder work to make sure that it's healthy. Once I'm out there, it's good to go. So that's interesting. And then they asked the coach, and he said, they will be limited. We don't have a real specific idea, but he won't play 40, I assure you. Now, if they're going to play him in the mid-20s, isn't that comment he's not going to play 30?
You would think.
Or he's not going to play 35? Like, when you set I'm now attempting to inhabit the mind space of Kenny Atkinson. So please be aware this entire thread is bullshit that I'm going on here. But certainly it could mean absolutely nothing. And 40 could just be like, look, this obviously isn't going to happen. He was thinking of a big number of minutes that guys are really playing. So he said 40. But if he was planning on limiting him to 24, 25, 26 minutes, don't you say 30 there? Don't you say 30? I don't know.
You would think.
That's part of my theory.
Good news is he's basically meaningless on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think you can. I still ranked him on DraftKings. I think he can do some massive.
Oh, sure.
I like Spencer Dinwiddie had 55 fantasy points against these Hawks, which this is a dreadful Hawks defense. It does not get. It gets a little better with Trae Young.
I was going to say it's actually better than it would have been.
Yeah, it's getting Trae Young out of there. Getting Trae Young off the court would make the defense on my high school team better. So he's not as bad as he was, whereas last year he was literally the worst defender in the association by almost every metric. It's a little bit better now. He's like third percentile or whatever. I'm curious what numbers you have for him, but FanDuel, I like it. Again, it's a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Like, if you think he plays 25 minutes, I think you project him for about 40, 30, 37, 38. Like, who knows how much, he puts this thing down. But it's just an absolutely monster spot. You had, just looking at Nets games this year. I don't even go into other teams dismantling the Hawks through the backcourt. Garrett Temple had 25 and 10 and something against them, next to Dinwiddie having a decent game. In the other game they played against him, Dinwiddie had like 45, 10, and some absolutely absurd lines. So, I still have plenty of interest on FanDuel, and I would have some on DraftKings. I have a feeling you're saying you'd have zero. I'm not.
I will 100% have zero on DK.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the safest way to go. I have some. It's not hard for me to conceive of a, Kyrie is back 30 minutes, 56 fantasy point game performance, but I can totally understand thinking 94, 96 or whatever the hell the tag is there is completely out of range. 94?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in a world of guys who are priced much, much better. And, that's more than you're spending on Kawhi.
Right.
That's 2.5 more than you're spending on D'Angelo Russell, who has to project, even or higher, not counting the minutes uncertainty. And so
Kawhi Leonard, currently my second most exposed player on DraftKings. So
Kawhi's number 2, and number 1 is Brandon Goodwin. Okay,
correct.
We got those two. It'd be a fun game. I could sit here and guess 3. D'Angelo Russell make your top 5?
He did not. He is 41% owned on DraftKings right now, which gives me a little bit of pause.
That's big.
But he's 7th for me, so I'm essentially with the field.
You're a bit under, I have a feeling, but that's. And John Collins, you're probably 10th for you.
11th, which is neutral to the field. 20. I got 26. We're projecting 27.5. Cool. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say again, I would take a pretty big stand there. I think I would have significant amounts with Trey in. I would have had reasonably significant amounts of interest with Trey out. It is not hard for me to cogitate. If that game stays close, it's because he gave you 50. Like, it's really weird for me that like Porter and Goodwin get all the work done and Junk. Like, he's going to get a points, rebounds, double.
Yeah,
almost like, I don't know.
He pretty much
it's really hard for me. Right. He's had less than 9 rebounds, I think, like once since returning. So like he's a very good rebounder as well. So, he'll start at center. Len will come in and move him over to the 4. That's something someone asked me. I lost it, but someone asked, about Collins and Len. I'm fine playing both those guys. I'm fine playing.
Isaiah Battles comes in, told y'all Drummond was a horrible play. Y'all were clowning me. I mean, unless you were projecting the ejection, which kudos to you for that.
He played very poorly in the first. I would love to hear your reason. One of my pet peeves is people are like, see, that was good or that was bad. I need a reason. Like, people tell me all the time, Ed, this was stupid. Yeah. And frequently they're right that it didn't work out, but I need a reason that it was stupid. Like, everything doesn't work out the way it's supposed to all the time. So if you have a take like Drummond was a bad play last night because with Wendell Carter Jr. out, they were going to play more Markkanen at the 5, causing Drummond to get fatigued because he's running around the 3-point line. Like, give me a theory. But if it's just like, see, that didn't work, well, that doesn't help anybody. Like, and there's plenty of times people send me a message the day after and they go, I didn't like that because I thought this would happen. I'm like, that was really smart. Thanks for that insight. So by all means, if you have a reason Drummond was a bad play against Chicago last night, I'm more than happy to listen, but it's got to be more than because I said so.
You know what stinks when something doesn't work out? When at 6:59 you global swap Aaron Holiday to TJ McConnell because TJ McConnell is ruled out, ultimately costing yourself $100,000.
Ow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I don't hate it. He was starting. I would do it again if I just would have screwed up or accidentally closed the tab. If the news comes out with Sabonis being scratched, it never happens.
And you probably don't make the change then, just because.
Right, I would have never made the change. I wouldn't. So this was FanDuel. I wouldn't have had the opportunity.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that one stung. No one above me had it.
That is. Yeah. That is tough.
Yeah.
So let's do nets. So Kyrie, where are you, Kyrie, on FanDuel? I want your take. Are you just playing DK?
I am just playing DK today. I don't really like the FanDuel weekend contest, so I try to just rotate over to DK. And I've been trying to improve my short slate play on DraftKings. So once again,
Okay.
another one.
I admire you being successful and still refining your process. I can't tell you how many people get good, and we see people who end up like, and I'm retiring, and it's still a beatable game right now. But there's a lot of people who got good 2 years ago and had a process and just went, cool, I've got it. I've been consistently winning. I'm going to do this, and then the game changes in some way, and you're still doing the same thing, and you go from being 3% profitable to 3% not profitable, and people hang them up. So kudos to you, still working on refining your process. So talking about the other nets, I think we can agree Dinwiddie is a non-starter at this point. A non-starter is a conversation piece. Are you playing any Spencer Dinwiddie? I'll rephrase.
I have him ranked as my 9th point guard. I can't imagine that I would have all that much. That's for FanDuel in particular. Kyrie, I have 7th. And again, I have him at 26 minutes. That would obviously climb if I move that to 28 or 30 or something like that. I just don't know what to do with him. And
yeah, I think they let him. It's also, worth pointing out, the only teams on back-to-backs are Denver, who lost an unreasonable game against the Cavs last night. I'm going to take 10 seconds and say this. What the hell happened to their defense?
I don't know.
Like, I went back and I watched that game last night. And I watched the entirety of the Cleveland, because I'm like, I don't know how this Cleveland team beats this. Like, it should be a really tough matchup. And they basically were winning wire to wire, and Denver caught up by, they were down by 20 a point. So, and I'm watching this, I'm going, their defense looks awful. And I can't quite figure out why yet. I'm going to, watch this game and try to get a better idea. But I went and did something I often do, where I try to have intuition and verify it with video and then verify it with stats. I went back and looked. Denver, who is a top 3 defensive team for a lot of the year, over their last 15 games, they've won 11 of them. They're 11-4. Guess over that period of time where they rank in defensive rating in the NBA.
21st.
29th.
I wanted to be right.
They are only better than the Pistons. Like, that's unbelievable. And there's some tough matchups in there. They had a Lakers game. They played against a couple, good offensive teams in a Beal and Wizards team. And if you're like, but Jesus, that's a falling off the gun. I have to go back and look. And the absence of Millsap doesn't help. That plays a factor and changes the pace in a couple. But wow. Like, I was shocked, and I expected to see, I'm like, I bet they're down to like half or like 15th or 18th over the last, month. Last 15 games, 29th out of 30 teams. That's bad.
It's really
bad. Somehow 11-4. But one of many reasons, this is me with the pro segue here. I don't do the hosting as well as you do, but tell me how this one works out. Okay. That I'm interested in a lot of members of the Los Angeles Clippers tonight.
So am I. And I think it's probably time for us to check them out. I've obviously mentioned I've got Kawhi Leonard as my number 5 play on DK today. He's just ranked number 5 for me. He is my second most owned guy. I have 59% as of right now. That's close to double the field. But I have another Clipper that I am also quite enamored with today.
Sweet Lou.
It is not sweet Lou. Although I am not. It is not Pat Beverly.
Is it Montrezl Harrell?
It is Montrezl Harrell.
Interesting. He is. I have him well behind Lou, who I have well behind Kawhi Leonard. So let us discuss, my good man.
Sure.
Speak to me of all things red tips.
I am also still double the field on Lou Williams. We have him at 10%. I have 21. So I don't want it to seem as if I'm not interested there.
Obviously the price on Harrell is brilliant. Point conceded, and I guess we should start the conversation with this statement. When you have 4 guys on your team who do the majority, I'm going to use some very round numbers here. Here we go. Basically, you have Paul George, Kawhi, Montrezl Harrell, and Lou Williams doing, let's say, 80% of the offense on this team.
Yes.
Most of the time, that breaks down to about 20% ahead. Obviously, it doesn't distribute evenly. Just go with me. It's an abstraction. When there's 3 of them there, that wakes out to closer to 27% ahead, and that's a massive increase of 35% per dude, going from 20 to 27. So this is very in the when Joel Embiid theory is out, and again, your projections, almost all decent algorithms will take this into account. But it's really worth pointing out that when you give, when the minutes for one of those big four turn into Landry Shamet, Mo Harkless, JaMychal Green, whatever the hell, that's a lot of shots floating around for the other three dudes. So just want to get that out on top.
They just don't do it. Like, I mean, Bev is like a 13% usage guy. JaMychal Green, 14. Mo Harkless, 11. Landry Shamet, 12. Rodney Magruder, 10. Jerome Robinson, Patrick Patterson. None of these guys shoot. Montrezl Harrell, with Paul George off the floor this year, 723 minutes, 1,500 possessions, 28% usage rate, shooting 60% from the field, 1.2 FanDuel points per minute. That's 2/100ths of a FanDuel point per minute north of Lou Williams.
Yeah. And I came into the day expecting to say the same thing, and then I went back and reviewed a lot of Harrell Denver. Like this is a fairly similar matchup that we've actually seen a number of times, because this is a Denver team that pretty closely resembles what they were last team in both system and personnel. And it's been difficult for him in the past. Like, it's a spot where I have in my notes, you could occasionally get more of a Zubac presence here. Like, it is a spot in which I have concern for Harrell. Now, I still like having all the Montrezl Harrell you want to have. But the matchup is what tilts it the other way for me. And again, and this is to some degree bullshit. So, and I should point that out, because when I'm sure on something, I want to say I'm sure on this. This is more me saying, okay, going back to our previous example, if I don't think this is a great Montrezl Harrell spot, now I've got two dudes left to get all that production. Again,
right,
rounding a lot of fucking corners there. But for that reason, and I use the F word, that's got 3 times on the air this year. I'd gotten a lot better at it. So now, like, I need those shots to come from somewhere. Not having PG-13 there and having more Landry Shamet is a little, I don't know. I slightly end up going to Lou more there. But I definitely agree with you that, like, Kawhi seems like the beast here. Obviously, I guess we should quantify that a little bit. His usage goes from, I think, like 32, 33%, and then you get Paul George out of there, and it's like 36-ish. As I previously mentioned, I saw a lot of places today, people saying, like, this is a tough matchup. Not for the last month, it hasn't been. They've been terrible. And again, still no Millsap. So
Millsap being out is massive. They give up 4.5 more points per possession defensively. They drop to a 29th percentile overall defense. They're not causing any turnovers. They're not stopping anybody from shooting efficiently. They're 31st percentile in defensive rebound rate. They're not doing anything. And I would have guessed roughly all those numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I actually hadn't looked up any of that, but it is really clearly a thing. And it's funny because, especially in DFS, because of his age and his inconsistent production, this is one of those guys where if you say to your average DFS player, Millsap being out is a massive thing, they'd be like, what? It's like, it just turns into Jeremy Grant, nothing changes. It's really relevant on that end of the court. So, yeah, it's hard. Even on FanDuel, where, again, you're fairly close to a pick'em today and we have lots of great value. The hardest part about getting to Kawhi Leonard is that he's a power forward, and like 5 of the best 13 plays on the slate are power forwards. I'm pulling both those numbers out of my ass, but you get my point. It's a really nice position, so I can get spending your money elsewhere there. But DraftKings, that's awfully difficult to get away from. And I imagine we have him projected 35%. I'll throw a number out right now. 29 on the last update that I have. And I have double that. If that's changed. 30.7 on the most recent updates. Let me throw that in there.
So it's just going to climb a little bit, and I'll guess that it actually ends up over that. But the he's a priority spend for me today. I mean, today it's really, for me, it's like building my placeholder on DraftKings. I played Goodwin. I played D'Angelo Russell. I played Kawhi. I played John Collins, and then I filled in the pieces. I'm like, these are 4 guys I would put in my first lineup, and I'll find ways to be interesting. But
so I also wanted to point out one last piece on Harrell, since that's sort of a guy that I've hitched my wagon to. 71st percentile in offensive rebounding rate this year. It's his highest offensive rebounding rate of his career. I think that plays in well to the lack of rebound or defensive rebounding skill from the Nuggets when Paul Millsap is not involved. So hoping that Millsap is going to cause some problems not being on the floor.
Yeah, no, and again, 6,100 is still a very, very good price on him. I like, one of the bigger issues today is, he has the boom capability. You can get 26 and 18 out of Montrezl Harrell in this game. I'm not at all surprised. with these guys. Again, it's a matchup he struggled in before, but even in like there have been at least twice this year that I can think of where I was like, this is a team that has normally done a good job with their current staff, coach, personnel system, whatever, of handling him, that he's gone out and done it anyway. And like, I have no issue with any amount of Montrezl Harrell in tournaments at $6,100. He can absolutely crush the living crap out of that price. It's just a tough day because there's so many guys I project really, really well relative to their salaries. And it's not just value guys. Like D'Angelo Russell should cost 8.5 today. He costs $7,000. Kawhi should cost 10. He costs 9. Colin should cost 9. He costs 8. Draymond should cost 6. He costs 5. Like there's just lots of guys who are underpriced who I look to destroy their prices. So Montrezl Harrell in a tough matchup, I think I still have. I'm curious what you have him actually projected for. I have him for 31.
35.
Right, and that obviously make a big difference. But it's not like 31 feels awful at $6,100. Like that's perfectly so.
Alex has him at 33, so he seems to be splitting the difference.
He's splitting the hair between us, and that's good. And I enjoy this conversation. So again, I lean towards the matchup and watching tape and stuff and saying like, I think they can keep him down. So I'll go with Kawhi, who I expect to be great, and then Lou, because someone else has to take 24 shots on this team. And if it isn't Montrez and it isn't Kawhi, then I mean, it will be Kawhi, but I'm saying there's just still going to be another 40 shots to go around on the team. I think Lou has to take a lot of them, but I have no issue with anyone playing almost any amount of Harrell at 6,100. It's just too cheap.
Do you have any interest in anything coming up from the opposite side of this game? Jokic, Murray, Barton.
I mean, I always do, but again, it's a short slate. It's a 5-game slate. We always have to keep that in mind. Yeah.
You're obviously playing some sort of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic if you're playing 150
Jamal Murray
lineups.
at 60. Right, Jamal Murray at 6,400 is going to stand out and should. And also not a very predictable player. You can talk about the micro matchups with Beverly and what have you, but has had very decent games against the Clippers and Beverly in the past on multiple teams. And I'm fine getting there in tournaments. Again, I would probably rather play Kevin Huerter. I would probably rather play a couple other guys, but Jamal Murray at 6,400 is, I think, the one that sort of comes off the page at me first.
Okay.
I would rather go there than Will Barton. Although it's worth pointing out on DK, you get an $800 discount, whereas on FanDuel they're the exact same price. Yeah. So that's a different kettle of fish. Jeremy Grant, very playable on FanDuel at 4,000, but again, he's a power forward. That's where you're getting into trouble there. But I think it's 53 on DK, so that is a much different calculus.
Yeah, I don't have him there.
Yeah, and nor do I think you should. I ranked him, but not well. Jokic is 98 on FanDuel, 88 on DraftKings. 88 for Jokic when he's, in the winter months. Like it's like fall Jokic, spring Jokic, I don't know, but he's sort of the reverse grizzly bear. All right, there's got to be a good joke I can make here about. All right, so normally bears store fat on their body when they hibernate, whereas Jokic, I don't know.
He was pretty much hibernating for the first 2 months of this season, even though he was also still really good.
Yes, yeah, it's not like it was bad, but anyhow, I love a good narrative as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
But damn it, I was almost done. That would have been perfect to say as we segue to DeRozan. But Jokic at 8,800 is a very, very, very good play.
Yeah, I agree with. Relatively neutral to the field there. I do want to hit on one question. Super chat from Nicholas. Top small forward value on FanDuel. I'm getting a lot of Prince right now.
In my placeholder, I have 2 small forwards. They are Prince and Oubre. Like, I don't particularly love. Well, a $5,000 Prince against Atlanta is a fine deal of and by itself. He's 5,500 on DK. That's about right. That feels fine. I don't have strong emotions about that. I don't think there's. If you don't have D'Angelo Russell, I like that being Alec Burks instead. I have trouble conceiving of one of those guys not destroying today. Yes. They could both destroy. I have no problem if your lineup shows up with D'Angelo Russell and Alec Burks in it. But again, Kai Bowman in the G League, Damian Lee basically off the team until he signs a contract because he has used all of his time. He has used his 45 days, so he's not allowed to play. So really hard to imagine in a good matchup against Memphis, either Burks or Russell or both don't get there. So if you don't have D'Angelo Russell, hopefully you have $200 to turn Taurean Prince into Alec Burks. Specifically in that situation, I would strongly advocate that. Past that, I do think it's worth pointing out Rudy Gay at $4,100.
I
I'm never a
prefer a
big
different
fan.
$4,100 guy.
Oh, are you talking about Big Glenn, little
Yes.
dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine going there as well. And I think that's a better play on the fact. So I just saw Rudy Gay, and that seemed less obvious. So I said it. So Glenn Robinson is still Glenn Robinson, but dude's going to play 30 plus minutes in a very good matchup. End conversation. Like, I'm not a big Glenn Robinson fan, not high usage guy, ceiling a little bit limited, though he did have at least one very nice monster this year. But he's $4,100. He's going to play 32 minutes, and I'd project him for 25 fantasy points or something, which feels pretty good for $4,100.
25 point what?
I did that off the top of my head, so I will not pretend like I'm reading that off a spreadsheet. So I'll say 25.3.
I have 9 on draft, 25.9 on DraftKings, 25.4 on FanDuel. So I was just curious.
I was talking FanDuel, so I was off by 0.01, pulling it out of my butt. So I'm sure that smelled like primrose. But yeah, Glenn Robinson is probably a better play. But I have a feeling Glenn Robinson's 2.5 times owned what Rudy Gay is. Now, Rudy Gay is in a much worse matchup. He's playing on the Spurs, and who knows what the hell they're going to do on any given day. It's a fully healthy Spurs team, so good luck, Chuck. But that being said, he's $4,100. Most times recently, we're seeing him get into the 20s in minutes, get into the 20s in fantasy points. Yeah, I got nothing. Oh, I guess revenge. I mean, if you take Rudy Gay revenge games, you're going to get 2 every week. But yeah.
Rudy Gay at 6%, Glenn Robinson at 16.
Yeah, that's right about where I would have guessed those figures. So I prefer either of those gentlemen to Mo Harkless. I don't hate McCall Bridges. McCall Bridges has 30 plus minutes 2 of the last 3 games. Matchup with Charlotte's kind of nice. $4,300 is tolerable, but in cash you play Glenn Robinson. In tournaments, I'd probably play McCall Bridges over Rudy Gay if I have the $200, the spare scratch to go there. I don't think there's anything wrong with DeAndre Hunter against the Nets. Again, I'm a bigger fan of like 5 other Hawks. So for that reason, adding another Hawk and spending more money to do so isn't what I'm trying to do. And same thing with OG Anunoby, still starting. It's usage going to take a further hit with Siakam back, so on and so forth. But I don't think he's out of play, especially on FanDuel where his price is a little better and the scoring is a little more attuned to his skill set. You can get 6 stocks out of OG Anunoby. So,
speaking of,
and Cam Reddish. Sorry, Cam Reddish is $3,600 on FanDuel. Now he's bad. He's just bad. He's bad at fantasy. He's bad at real basketball, frankly, at this point. But will be handling the ball a little bit more. I'm top of my heading this, but I think one of the 2 games Trae Young set out, he had 6 assists. I think he had like 0 or 2 points in that game, but not insane at $3,600. If your tournament lineup should land on Cam Reddish, I don't think that's unreasonable against Brooklyn with several guys out.
You mentioned OG, and I'm going to transition slightly to Kane Smith's super chat. How much does Siakam being back impact Lowry dramatically?
It is a kick directly in the testicles. He gets
basically
he gets Hachimura, he gets Ginobili. It's a real thing. Like Kyle Lowry has honestly would be top on my list of players in the NBA who, when other guys are out, goes, no, I got this. Like literally, if even like Fred VanVleet is in, Kyle Lowry is perfectly content to just sit in a lawn chair at the 3-point line for half of the game. When guys go out, Kyle Lowry will just play 40 minutes and just go apeshit and do everything.
I was getting 70% Kyle Lowry. Siakam news starting, I have 25% now.
Yeah, I would have had less and less, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it is a very real thing. I spent the whole year last year going, because Kawhi Leonard was sitting every 4th game and going, Kawhi Leonard's sitting, you should play Kyle Lowry again. And if you went back and looked, I think Kawhi Leonard sat 20 games. Maybe it was 22, but Kawhi Leonard played 60 or 62 regular season games for the Raptors last year. And I think Lowry may have sat 2 of the others. But you're going to end up with a sample of like 18 to 20 games that Lowry played that Kawhi Leonard didn't. And he was exceptional in like 12 of them, very good in 4 of them, bad in 1 or 2 or something last year. Like literally I started multiple shows going, well, Kawhi's not playing, so play Kyle Lowry, and then went on to the next guy. Because he averaged 50 in those games and 40 in the games where Kawhi was playing, or 37 or some number like that. So, yes, it is a massive difference. Obviously, the amount Siakam plays is relevant. Maybe Siakam is a little more tenuous. I have no reason particularly to believe that. I do think Siakam seems likely to only play like 25 minutes. So I don't have a problem if you still, and you mentioned you still have some 25% Lowry. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's a very good matchup for them. Shout out to the Spurs, who have improved incredibly on both ends of the court. Watching Pop turn this group of kids into a better team over this year has actually been really exciting for me. They're getting a lot better. If you compare their full season rankings to their last month rankings, you'll see that they've gotten significantly better offensive rating and defensive rating. Their offensive ranking is up to like 6th. I think defense, they're up to like 15th, 14th over the last month, something like that. That's just pretty good considering, they were offensively 15th and defensively 27th for a while. So like I've been excited to see how much better they've gotten just watching the games. But yeah, I'm fine still getting to some Lowry. He's appropriately priced. So having some on a 5-game slate makes sense in what I think is still an above average matchup.
Okay. One final super chat from Cully Poston. Thank you very much for that. Draymond and Lou, or Montrez and Jared Allen. No site given. It's the first one for me.
I will take the Lou side. You will take the Montrez side.
I will take the Lou side, actually. I also have a lot of Draymond Green. And
that price is absurd.
Jared Allen is the guy that I have sort of the least of everything here.
Yeah, so if we sort of skipped over this talking about this. Both Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan had one massive game and one kind of shit game in the 2 Hawks games.
Right.
Now, there's no reason they both can't have a reasonable game, but between the two of them, they're gonna kick out, I don't know, 70 fantasy points in 48 minutes or something. Like, it's a really good spot. So there was, I don't have the exact numbers. There was one game where Jared Allen started and had like 6 and 8 in his 22 minutes. DeAndre Jordan had like 12 and 20. He had a 20-plus rebound game off the bench against the Hawks. That I'm positive of. And then there was one game where Jared Allen went apeshit crazy. So, and I ranked them appropriately. I think I have them both as C's in cash and A's in tournaments. You could make an argument for a B in cash for Jared Allen. I may have given him a BA instead, but I'm really fine with anyone who plays center or guard in that game.
Yeah. You ready? You ready for this one? I loaded this up in my sheet. Draymond Green, Lou Williams, 65.4 fantasy points together. Montrezl Harrell and Jared Allen, 65.3.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we both agree. It's clearly
separated by 1/100th of a fantasy point per 1,000.
Yeah.
So
there's not a ton of respect for sometimes how hard what we do is, and that like they're 50-50 questions a lot of the time. So I have shows sometimes where I get, 20 questions like that, and I get 16 of them right, and someone jumps on my face about the other 4, and I'm like, you have any idea how hard it is to get 80% of that crap right, where all the questions are close to, like, people don't ask questions that don't make sense. They're not like, should I play Brandon Goodwin or Nick Batum today? Like, if I got that question, I think it would be reasonable to expect me to get 80% of them right. But It's so hard when you get questions like that. Like, I'm just saying, it's really hard to do sometimes. But yeah, again, I'll go with the tape and all the crap I said before, which I feel good about. But again, Harrell is one of those guys who has shown the propensity, especially when you don't have Paul George, and especially against a Denver team that has not been itself defensively for a while. So I very hesitantly will stay on the Lou side, but they're both just fine.
11 minutes to go. Who have we not talked about that you think that we are missing at this point?
So let's look at placeholder A and placeholder B. Look at all these Hawks and Warriors and
where are my team exposures? That's something like that. Most exposed team for me, Hawks.
DK, I have a Clipper, a Sun, 3 Hawks, and 3 Warriors.
Warriors are 2, Clippers are 3 for me. All of my exposure.
Sounds good. Do we want to talk about? All right, so let me look at this and make sure. Let's give me your best take on Amari Spellman.
So he is one of my bigger fades for right now. 4,100 obviously is a very appealing price tag on DraftKings. We have him projected for 28.5 ownership, and as of right now, he is coming in at 5 for me.
Okay.
I have him in for 22 minutes. Not totally confident in that. That much I can say. It wouldn't shock me at all if Willie Cauley-Stein just somehow got 26 minutes or something.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not terribly enamored with predicting Warriors rotations, that's for sure. But more than anything, I just think that he's slightly over-owned given this spot, and I'm willing to make that one of the places that I pivot for today.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think that is a really, really good take. I in a vacuum would have more. And I think Amari Spellman is a good play as a confirmed starting center at $4,100. I think your most likely scenario is that he plays, I think I had 27 minutes, but somewhere in the high 20s in minutes, and has a unexciting but perfectly decent game. It is a spot where I think there's a ceiling. But as you pointed out very correctly, Golden State rotations, minutes, just getting his crap pushed in by Jonas Valanciunas. Like there are a lot of ways that goes wrong. The number of ways that Amari Spellman goes wrong is much, much greater than the number of ways Brandon Goodwin goes wrong.
Yes.
Like it's
like
just
Willie Cauley-Stein feels like he might be needed more against Joe Val than Amari Spellman.
Sure. There's many ways, and that's a perfectly reasonable, and just not even foul trouble, just like we need a slightly bigger body, a bruiser. No, Amari Spellman can make some threes, can do lots of stuff, occasionally picks up some defensive stats. I kind of like him as a player. Has gotten himself in much better shape. He was Oliver Millering it for a while there. He got pretty round, but
Oliver Miller.
And they've confirmed he's starting again. So I like him as a play. I don't find the ownership onerous. Like, I'm a big fan of moving away. Like, my 80% of my value this year has been saying this is a really chalky guy. I think there is a greater chance of failure than most people seem to think. I'd like to move away from him. That's been really good this year. If Amari Spellman is 50 or 60%, I'd be going absolutely nuts, going like, look, here's the 9 ways I can think that can fail. 25, 30% where there isn't a ton of value. I suspect it may end up being more than that. That is a 6 o'clock game. Yeah, that is a 6er. So we will see what the ownership is on that. It's going to be a good game of daddy. Like 60% of the slate at lock, my friend. I'm excited. I'm geeked up. Okay, I got to start.
I'm also quite excited for that.
I got to start tuning in.
Yeah, as of right now, he's my biggest fade, so I hope he stinks today.
And I think that's just fine. Again, I don't think 28% is crazy. If that's where he lands, I'm going to go ahead and guess that number is closer to 35. I would not have a strong take on that. I think, but not super upside guy. I'm much more excited about $5,100 Draymond Green than I am $4,100 Amari Spellman.
As am I. 36% owned for me right now. He's my 7th ranked or 7th overall guy, and I could probably I wouldn't be mad to have more. 5,100 on DraftKings is wild.
That's just wild. That's absolutely absurd. Island game for them, which is relevant, talking about all these things. There is usage missing where we've gotten, and minutes missing where we have no Lee and we have no Bowman. You need to have some exposure to this team against Memphis. It's really hard for a couple guys on the Warriors not to get there. And you don't need to have Amari Spellman. That's fine. You can have Willie Cauley-Stein directly instead. I'm totally fine with that as a pivot play. It's not likely to succeed, but when it succeeds, it's going to be really nice for you.
Yes.
I really like having D'Angelo Russell or Alec Burks. Like, I'm not quite at the point where I would start, I would tell Cruncher, give me one of these guys to start every lineup and going from there, but I'm not far from that. But, having no Russell, no Burks, no Draymond, it's really hard for me to conjure up a box score that is going to make that work.
Yeah. I have 104% ownership additive for those 3 guys. Also, 26 more on Glenn Robinson. Glenn Robinson is basically my pivot to Amari Spellman from an ownership perspective. Spellman is getting it. I don't have it for him. Glenn Robinson is at 8%. I have 26. So I have basically just flip-flopped those 2 guys in this particular.
I'm fine. I have no issue whatsoever with what you're doing there.
I mean, Glenn Robinson isn't exactly fun to roster, but
yeah, it's Glenn Robinson. But he has had one monster game this year and a few others where he transgresses into mid and high 30s, and it's a really strong matchup. So I'm the minute should be really secure. I'm really excited about Burks. He's priced really well on both sites. But yeah, again, this is the simple dichotomy. Really hard to imagine either Burks or Russell not getting there. One of those dudes is taking 20 plus shots
for sure. That's happening.
Right. That's going
one
to
of those
occur,
dudes is going to be gunning for sure.
Right. Potentially both. I have no issue with you quasi-stacking this game. It's I'm going to take those 2 guys. They're going to take collectively 46 shots and take all the offense. That can't happen. It's happened next to each other. But certainly I want one of them. With how popular we have D'Angelo Russell, I almost prefer the Burks play at this point, but big fan of both.
I'm also a big fan of Burks. I'm actually a little lower on Burks than Alex has him right now. I'm still over the field, but I'm going to give him just a slight boost just to see if I can get him in another 3% of my lineups or something.
Just give him a minute. Just a minute.
I'm just going to give him a 5% boost to his fantasy points. That's the easiest way for me to do this right now. And that bumps him up to 29% of my lineups. I will take that.
There you go. That feels good. And I bet we haven't projected for a scotch lower.
15.7 right now.
Ooh, that's really juicy. And we have D'Angelo at like 40, I presume. Like it's gonna be a number. Not 40,
that sounds about right. It's 32, and I have 43.
Yeah. Okay. So
go Warriors.
Yeah, I like. I mean, again, there's no Bowman, no Lee. Now, like, they can do some weird shit. I am not at all surprised. It's like, 27 minutes out of Jacob Evans. I did not see that coming. Like, there are ways this blows up in your face for, like, Warriors stack. There's no way none of these good guys get there. Like, $5,100 Draymond or 4,100 Spellman or 7,000 Russell or 54 and 57 Burks. I'll take the over on 2 of them getting there, but certainly take the over on 1.5.
We're going to play a quick early daddy like since there's only 2 minutes left. I'm going to just start naming my guys in order of my exposure.
Okay.
Let me know where you're at.
Cool.
Brandon Goodwin, 77.
I'm fine with it. I imagine I'd have a little bit less, but if someone 100%ed him, I don't have. He's starting. It's really. I'm fine with it. I think I like it.
Kawhi, 55.
Like it.
Montrezl Harrell, 51. Probably
not like it.
Probably a little heavy.
Previously stated,
sure.
But
D'Angelo Russell, 43, which we've touched on already. Here's one we have not talked about at all. Devontae Graham, 39.
Wow, that's a big number. I'll let you talk about it. Like, I think he's fine. I don't think he quite got to an A in GPPs for me.
Okay.
So, like, I was both him and Rozier. Like, he is shot dreadfully. If he go and like there was the one game he got benched because he was playing like crap. But like, the plan is he plays 36 minutes, and God forbid he makes half his shots one of these days.
Yeah,
that guy's going to put up 50 something. So I certainly have no objection to it. But talk about it.
Yeah, 6,900 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah.
We have him projected for 23% ownership. This is the piece that I like the most, and these are the plays where I get really excited. I have him projected for 38.7 fantasy points, and that's what's getting me to 39.3. Alex has him projected for 41.1.
Wow.
Anytime that I am going to get north of the field from an exposure perspective, and I can look immediately to my right and see that if I were to be using Alex's projections, I would be getting even more. Of everybody that is in my player pool right now, Alex and I are separated by 29 total points across 42 guys.
I have him at 36
so,
and a half.
We're basically equal in our aggregate. We're not comparing like apples to oranges here.
Well, I can say that the two of you coming up with those numbers would make me well more bullish. So yeah, I mean, I have him at 36 and a half. So clearly we have some fundamental, maybe it's just a minutes thing. Which have been a little up and down as the kids get a little more time there, and there's a line in that game. Charlotte just plays so incredibly slow. Their pace over the last, I think their pace over the last month is sitting. I
can give you my pace metric for them, which is dead last in the league at 95.9 possessions.
They're over the last month. They're at 94.4, which is the lowest in the association by a full 3. But that being said, this is still a guy who was closing on $8,000 for a while and has been known to chuck. So I certainly don't think it's bad. I don't think I can quite justify the projection the two of you have, but I would generally defer to the two of you when the things don't happen to add up. So
final one, since we're about to hit lock, same game, Devin Booker, 39.
Don't dislike it in any way. The price isn't quite as nice as I'd like it to be. Like I like Devontae Graham a little more, but again, we're kind of close to a pick 'em. So if one of your lineups should land on Glenn Robinson and Brandon Goodwin and Amari Spellman, okay, then you're turning very chalky D'Angelo Russell into Devin Booker with that spare money, and he's going to outscore him close to half the time, and he won't be nearly as highly owned. So I'm fine making a stand there. It is a nice spot. The minutes have been really, really nice recently, so I'm fine with that. Again, that's, I suspect, more than I would have just because prioritizing Kawhi, which you obviously are as well.
Yes.
But I certainly do not dislike Devin Booker in this environment.
Now it's time for real daddy likes. I am pulling up the contest now. It's the $15 fade away on DK.
They've been going with 15. They've been going with 15 a lot.
I know. 50K to first. CSV downloaded.
3 games out of 5. This is exciting.
It really is. Lots to talk about here.
I'm gonna do terribly, by the way, but I took a look at our projected ownership this one time before I closed the thing.
So since friend of the program, Brick, wants us to go back to the old version, and I'm going to say right now, there are 15 guys north of 10%, so that feels like a weird line in the sand. So what we're going to do is just work our way from top to bottom. You let me know how you feel.
Okay.
Does Daddy like Brandon Goodwin as the chalk play of the day at 72.4% ownership?
Yeah, 50 was a little ambitious of us. I think it's fine. Yes, I do. Like, if someone said I have 73%, I'd be like, good job. So I'm nominally positive on it. Like, that is obviously a massive commitment to a player, but
he's 3,100, and it's not going to stop you from doing anything.
Yeah, that's probably about where it should be, or even a little bit higher. I mean, he is pretty clearly the best fantasy play of the day. I think. By the way, we could make a compromise between us and our friend Brick. Which, by the way, where did you get a hand grenade? But like, you could name the player, and then I can guess the number.
That works.
And that, you know what I'm saying? Because like, my inability to guess it all is killing me here. Going through and spending the 5 minutes with me trying to guess all 15 guys over 10%, that's probably a good avoid.
Yeah.
Good tip. I think that's strong. But that way, there's still at least a little, and I get to, like, I was gassed up to guess on some of these ownerships.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't have anywhere to be.
Okay.
John Collins, number 2.
Wow. I don't think I would have guessed that. I would have thought D'Angelo was going to have that spot.
He doesn't even have the third spot.
Really? Number 3 is going to be... See, now you got me on... All right, well, we'll do top 5, and then we'll go back to doing it the way Brick wants. I'm calling an audible.
Sure.
Top 5. Okay, so Collins is 2.
Yes.
D'Angelo, I'm presuming, is 4.
Correct.
Because you doesn't have 3. Okay, so the other 2 are going to be Amari Spellman, who I think is going to be higher than we had him projected.
He is higher than we have him projected. He is 5th.
Okay, so then I'm missing... Draymond.
Draymond Green, 3rd.
Okay, now we can do the thing. So John Collins 2nd at... This is kind of... See, this isn't good because now it's like cheating because they're going to go down slightly. So pulling him in a vacuum is difficult. This is too easy. So John Collins, less than 73 or whatever it was.
Correct. He is not in the 70s.
I'm going to say 40. I was a big fan.
44.95. I'm going to round those down now.
That's a commitment. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
I have 24. I liked having 24 when we projected 34.
That is it's like, I really just watched that game, and the Orlando game, that was a tough spot. And so, like, other guys got it, but just, it's an amazing spot, and they're going to run everything through them. Like, it's really hard for me not to project him for like 55 today. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't hate it.
Draymond Green.
42.
44. I had 35, so it's not really matter.
I'd have less, but it's $5,100 Draymond Green. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, the minutes could not be there, and the shots could not be there, and randomly couldn't get the triple-double stats. So, I guess I can hope he fails with like a 6, 9, and 8 with only one stock game, but it's $5,100. So I guess I will nominally dislike 44% Draymond Green.
D'Angelo Russell.
41.
37. I actually came in north of that number, 43.
Yeah, I think I'd end up north. Look, he was kind of prepared to go Friday, and then we're just going to give you a little more rest, and we know we're probably going to lose these guys to the G League. So yeah, I think he goes out here and goes apeshit in a really good matchup. Yeah, I think I'd probably have a little more. I'd be closer to your number. So Daddy likes.
Okay. Amari Spellman.
Yeah, 36.
37. I have 6. That should be fun.
37. Try not to... Sorry.
We get that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, probably would have. I would dislike not quite as much as you. I would have a little bit less, but there's some other value I feel a little bit better about, and other warriors I feel better about. Like it's sort of the reason I have trouble getting to, Cam Reddish and Hunter on the Hawks.
Sure.
I have them as my fifth and sixth Hawks, so I'm probably playing other ones, and there's a limit to how many guys from a team you want to take. So
Yeah.
I prefer Burks, I prefer Draymond, I prefer D'Angelo. So I suspect I do. So I will moderately dislike Amari Spellman, but again, I wouldn't feel bad about whatever you have.
Okay. Next up, Alec Burks.
29.
28. Glad I goosed him a little bit because now I'm neutral.
Yeah, that's good. Daddy likes that a lot. I'd be closer to like 35 or so. Again, I would not quite have 100% of lineups having D'Angelo Russell or Alec Burks, but I have a feeling that number for me would have to be like 80 or 90 for me to feel good. So yeah. I suspect I'd be at like 45 and 40 on those two guys or something. So I like that a lot. I would probably have more than 28% Burks. Just lots of shots to go around in a good matchup.
Given where some of these numbers are coming in, I'm starting to think that I'm going to be way higher than I thought I was on the Clippers.
Yeah. Which
I'm not exactly mad about.
No, me neither. We can do some composite math here, but we talked about it. And I'm not surprised. Like everyone's reaction, including people whose industry, whose opinions I really respect in the industry, were like, well, in a tough matchup against Denver, it hadn't been that.
No.
It's just
not with Paul Millsap off the floor.
Yeah, and they got smacked around by the Cavs. I repeat, the Cavs. The Cavs shot 50% from the field last night. There were only two Cavs who didn't shoot 50% or better. One was Kevin Love, who was like 7 for 20 or whatever. The other was Ante Zizic, who shot 1 for 3. So frickin' Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, guys who don't scream field goal percentage, were out there getting buckets. Like, it was a real thing. I'm like, I don't understand how that guy isn't covered. Like, literally the whole team, but those two guys shot 50% or better. Like, it is not a bad spot. Like, minutes limit, thin air. Like, I can try for that kind of crap, but
500% ownership is allocated at this point from these 3 games.
Oh, okay. So that is 500 out of a total of 800 is 62.5% out of 60% of the games. So these games are overexposed relative to the last 2.
Correct.
So the average ownership of a player here will be slightly higher than the average ownership of a player in those last 2.
Can I get to that quickly? And give me one. I want to see how much we projected to the early set. Should have a time.
It's gonna be less because we were 20% under on Goodwin, 10% under on Collins, 10% under on Drake. We massively under project. Like our owner, since you asked, our ownership was under on most of this. Like we may have been under on every player you've named so far. Goodwin was top, we were under. Collins was second, we were under. Draymond was third, we were under.
We were at 60% of the ownership in the 6 o'clock games.
Yeah, and it's actually 62.5, which is not grotesque, obviously. D'Angelo, I think we had just about right on. But the top 3 guys, we were under by a collective 40% or something.
We were. Let's get back into it here. Kyle Lowry.
Wow. Interesting. I'm trying to think who I thought should have been over. He's over. I guess we're running out of studs here. Porter. There was a lot of Ja Morant talk, who you and I did not even mention. We did not say his name.
We did not say his name.
Feels like a bit of an oversight.
I have him in 3% of my lineups.
That's I thought he was going to be more on than I'm guessing he will end up being. Like people are talking like he was going to land in like the 20% range, and I heard a number of people say they were his favorite play of the day, and obviously there is.
We pretty much nailed Morant. That much I can tell you.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember what we had him 15-ish.
Yeah.
Is that the ballpark? So,
correct. But anyway, Kyle Lowry.
Oh, sorry. All right, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
I'm
20.
all over the place.
20.
22 is essentially where I have him and essentially where we've had him projected. So,
yeah, don't hate. Siakam back. All discussed, but bigger fan of getting to him than to Aldridge DeRozan at a pretty beefy price. Although we did discuss DeRozan has played exactly 1 game in Toronto, not as a Raptor, and he beat the crap. I believe he triple doubled. I remember watching that game because there was it was the first, make sure I'm getting this right. So obviously the Spurs and the Raptors played twice last year. Both DeRozan and Kawhi played both games. The first one was the one in Toronto, and Kawhi didn't do much in either of them, but DeRozan had 60 something. I think he triple doubled in that game. I'm fairly certain he put up like a 65 triple double in the first game in Toronto.
Sounds familiar.
I don't care, and if it was important to me, I would have mentioned it. It's been a whole goddamn year, and I don't think Pop is all about that noise. And 7,900 is not a price that makes my socks roll up and down in a world of Collins at the same price and Draymond for $3,000 less and Burks and $1,000 cheaper for D'Angelo, etc. But I'd have been fine if you had some DeRozan. But anyhow, Kyle Lowry, I would have less than that. Don't hate it, but Siakam back is enough for me where it's starting to take away from the upside a little.
Kevin Huerter.
18.
17. I have 31.
Don't hate it. Feels good. Very safe, too.
Yeah.
Really hard for me to imagine he's failing. He's going to play 33, 34, 35 minutes. He's, it's the failure odds are fairly low in that matchup. So I'd be happy to be over there. That feels good.
Next two are really underwhelming. Jonas Valanciunas and Jared Allen. Both at 15. That's exactly where we had them projected. Kind of.
Yeah. Feels fine. It is a spot where you can get the big Jonas game, so I don't mind having that, but it's been very difficult to project. The minutes have come back to earth. I'm worried about the minutes on Morant. A lot of people talk to me like they're going to turn him loose. He's going to play like 33, 34 every game. I'm not sold. There's been some externalities that have pushed that a little bit. So, I had him at 30 today. I'm curious how many minutes you had John Morant at.
Probably 32 if I had to guess. Let me look. 30.
Yeah, okay. Well done.
Spot on.
I approve.
So
for that, good.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan, 15.
I think I would have less.
I do have less.
That I don't. Yeah. It's. I get it. I'm again. I think I subscribe to narratives more than most people. Like there's times I'm like, yeah, I think that's really going to be a thing, and I do think it turns out that way more often than not. So
Spellman off to a hell of a start.
Really?
Yeah.
2 fouls or like 10 points.
Oh no, the bad version for me.
The bad version for you, the good version for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 points.
Time. Just takes a couple
3
fouls.
points, 2 assists, and a steal, but he might have also actually hit another 3. I don't know.
Oh no, that's terrible.
3, 2, and 1. 2 assists I wasn't expecting.
Contact is the reason. It's the moment. Probably before your time.
Draymond 3, 1, and 1 as well.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Did Burks start? I didn't even look.
Yes.
I presumed he started. Yeah.
Ja Morant 14, Glenn Robinson 14.
Fine with that. You should be happy with the Glenn number.
Yeah, no issues. I preferred it at 8, but either way. Cam Reddish 12, LaMarcus Aldridge 11, and that concludes the 10 percenters.
All right. Yeah, Amari Spellman 12 DraftKings points so far. Any commentary from you, Josh Engelman?
It's got a block now. 3 points, 2 assists, a rebound, a steal, and a block.
He's got a 5x1. He's hit all the categories.
Not obviously. This is less than ideal.
He was. Yeah, I was pretty sure he would end up a little higher, but they picked up a block and caught the rebound off the block. It's all happening.
Love it. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Brooklyn up 6-0. Yeah, you go, Brendan Goodwin. Make sure you're dead. That team is really bad. We may have undersold this Hawks team is really shit with Trae Young. Yeah. Like maybe it should have been a conversation we got to, and the other team just got Kyrie Irving.
Goodwin's got a steal.
Bad. Does he? Way to go.
Yeah.
He's a decent steals guy. He averages like 1.5 or something. Like
that'll help.
He has a steal, like as in Toto.
Yes. A steal.
That's 0.7 value. We do not need a lot.
Now I just need John Collins to die just in case Amari Spellman does well.
Because
that'll help.
I'm not gonna lie. They're down 8-2. It appears so. A key part of that plan will be them getting absolutely curb stomped and Damian Jones finishing the game.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start letting. I'm gonna read off the rest of them. Jaren Jackson 9, Alex Len 9.
Yes, So okay, go ahead. Sorry, I just want to do that real quick.
What did I end up with? 11. So
There you go. See, you
might as well have been 9. Jay Crowder 8, Dylan Brooks 8, Torian Prince 8, Spencer Dinwiddie 5, DeAndre Jordan 5, DeAndre Hunter 5, Serge 4, Bembry 3, Joe Harris 3, Karis LeVert 3.
Had some wishful thinking with Bembry, but
for real. Eric Pascal 3, Norm Powell 3, Kyrie Irving 2. Seems about right.
Yeah, it feels about right. Oh, Brendan Goodwin 3-pointer. There you go.
I thought you were gonna say Amari Spellman.
Can to 3. No, Amari Spellman. I seen. Oh, he's at the free throw line right now.
Great.
Just missed a free throw. That'll get you. You should bench him, Steve Kerr. That guy hasn't been working on his free throws. Get him out of there. I'm trying to help.
What else we got? Norm Powell 3, Kyrie 2, Brandon Clark 2, Rudy Gay 2, OG Anunoby 2, Bryn Forbes 1, Siakam 1, Trey Lyles 1, DeJounte Murray 1, Willie Cauley-Stein 1, Derek White 1, Garrett Temple 1. He was ruled in, correct?
Yeah. I would have had more than 1% Garrett Temple. Like, obviously, Kyrie in, LeVert still there, him coming off injury. There's a lot of ways it goes badly, but dude was 3x playing guard against the Hawks. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many. I think I projected him for 24 minutes, but that still feels pretty good. Oh, my God. Guess who's going back to the free throw line?
Not Amari
Spellman. No, he's going back again. Okay. Yeah.
That'd be a great day for me.
He's living at the line. He's getting work done. I can't believe you faded him. He's so obviously. I'm just kidding.
Serve it all. Hey. It happens. It happens. We'll see where it ends up.
Trust me. I can't tell you how many times. There were at least 2 or 3 times this year where I went big fade on a chalk guy, and he destroyed the first quarter. I clearly remember one time with what's his name, Terrence Mann. They announced Terrence Mann starting with the Clippers in one game, and I went, I'd have none. He's not a fantasy guy. They're like, I would let it go, and he was $3,000. He was like 35% owned. At 12 fantasy points in the first 7 minutes, finished with 14. It's just like I was literally at closed the laptop and then reopened the laptop and was like, oh. All right, well done. That worked out. Scared the crap out of me.
I have Amari Spellman's target score for today set at 40. So as long as I can keep him, no higher than like 30, 32, I can avoid.
Yeah, exactly. Like 30 doesn't crush you. If you get, at least 25 out of Goodwin in that scenario.
I mean, if Glenn Robinson can do a little bit of something, stay in the same genre, I'll be okay.
All right, this was fun. Nice to have a weekend show with you. That's
I know. I want to see if anybody played themselves quickly, and then we can get out of here. Terrence Davis.
How many viewers did we have? I'm curious if we boosted our viewership with you and me.
We hit Sunday a peak of maybe like mid 1500s.
Okay, it's a Sunday with NFL playoffs
with a invigorating NFL game going on right now between the Texans and the Chiefs. So
I saw the.
What is the score now? Because I know they were getting hammered and then they came.
I saw 21-0.
Oh, they came back.
Really? That's gotta be exciting.
It is 51-31 Chiefs with 3 minutes to go.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah,
51 points.
Yes,
scoring none in the first quarter. I think
they scored 28 in the second quarter.
Dear Jesus.
Pat Mahomes is 23 of 35 for 321 and 5 touchdowns. Travis Kelce has 134 yards on 10 catches and 3 TDs. And
always Mahomes.
Watson's 317, 2 TDs, no picks, and a rushing touchdown and 37 yards rushing. And it's just like...
You got one foul on Spellman, my man.
Nice.
You got one.
I
just need one more. 5 minutes, you got one foul. You just need one more. One more Valanciunas slapping into him big meat style. You can get there.
Yeah, I think Pat Mahomes just slapped big meat style upside the Texans. Let's see. Brandon Clark.
Yeah, we got 3. You got into the 1%.
Okay, that's it. Pat McCaw, D'Anthony Melton, Mills, Kuruks, Boucher, Hollis Jefferson, Jake Puddle, Damian Lee. 0.4%.
Yeah, he was
Trae Young 0.2.
Nice. Those people played themselves.
Yeah, and that one's bad. You can't recover from that.
Yes, no, your Trae Young that's gonna get you.
You're dead in the water.
That's gonna get you.
Alrighty, guys, thank you for sticking around and watching us in lieu of what was surely an entertaining NFL game. which I'm sure you're watching now that there are 500 of you. But we appreciate you being here. Please hit the like button. Please go check out Super Draft. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit. I will be back in the morning with Laffy to chastise him for his use of ketchup on his eggs. And unfortunately, he will mock me for likely having just a mustache in a couple months.
Looking forward to it.
Anything else, Eddie?
No, I'm all set. I'll be back Tuesday. I'm on a 46-hour break or whatever.
There you go. I will be on quite the break starting Wednesday.
That's right.
We'll talk about that later, everybody. Good luck tonight, as long as you have my guys. Peace.